Flirties, the fall equinox is upon us. The seasons are changing before our very eyes, which led me to ask the question, what does this mean for our dating lives? Well, are we all in luck today as Fernie, magic mystic of the internet, fortune teller, and astrologer, is back on Flirtations to share with us our fall dating horoscope. What does this coming season hold for our dating lives? What should we be focusing on? How should we be dating this season? I'll just say the themes of pleasure, desire, and fun are in the stars for us. You don't want to miss this episode. Let's do this, flirties.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, back on the show today is the magic mystic of the internet, your favorite fortune teller, Fernie. Welcome back to
everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God, me too. As we're going to do our astrological check-in, we're going to see what's up with the planets, what's happening with the stars as we get set up for cuffing season. There might be a crisp breeze in the air, or maybe you're in the southern hemisphere. It's starting to warm up no matter where you are in the world. Cuffing season is upon us. We're going to get into it, what that is, and how we can use the stars to help us move through this season. But first things first, Fernie, welcome back, and please share a little bit more about yourself here with the Flirties.
Of course. Hello, flirties. I am also a flirty. I love to flirt. Flirting is my favorite. But I am also your favorite fortune teller with golden mirror fortunes. Find me anywhere that you can. And I just really love helping people. I love using tarot and astrology and magic to make your lives a little more gorgeous, a little more sparkly, a little more glitz and glamour just sprinkled into there to help you just live your most flirtatious life. And so I'm really glad to be here with Benjamin, helping you all just use the stars to make your life filled with love, especially as we're moving into cuffing season.
Yes. Amen to all of that. As I believe last time you were wearing this gorgeous purple caftan, and this time around we've got like iridescent sparkles. I'm seeing some rainbow, just like lots of glitter.
Yeah, that's just what we want in our lives. Why would you not want, like, if you could choose between glitter and no glitter, why would you choose no glitter? I just don't understand.
Oh my God. I don't even know. I'll be cleaning it up forever and I don't even care.
Every time I sweep, it's like more glitter than dust. And that just makes my heart so happy.
And that's the way it should be. All right. We started the last episode of Flirtations you were on with a tarot card pull. I'd love to do the same thing here. What do you got for us? What do the tarot cards have?
Let's see. Well, let's start today. Let's think about cuffing season. Let's pull a card for everybody here for cuffing season. So everybody close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just ground yourself. Fill yourself with your hopes and your dreams and your fears and your worries. Fill yourself with all of the gorgeous energy that is yours. And once you are full, I want you to open your eyes and I'm going to tell you our card for cuffing season. Let us see. We have, oh my goodness, I love this. We have the sun. And as we know that this is going to be released right as we are entering the fall equinox, which means that the sun and the moon are of equal strength. They are equal in time. We are asking for all of us just to remember our light. We're asking for everybody to remember where our light comes from, where we shine brightest, and how we can shine our light onto all of those around us. When we are entering cuffing season, I want for you flirties to remember that you are the sun. You are a great ball of light that just attracts and drives and pulls gorgeousness towards you, and this energy is going to drive you towards amazing things. So you are the sun. We're going to find your moon, and this is going to be a gorgeous little relationship for you.
Love it. The sun, here we are in our light, attracting. Okay, I think, setting us up so well with that poll. And now
Right?
I want to ask you from your perspective. I mean, I know the Floridians have probably heard the term cuffing season before, but in case they haven't, or unsure a little bit about what that means, what in your words, what's cuffing season?
I think cuffing season is really any time in which we are just ready to couple up. We are just ready to get that blanket out from the attic and just like wrap ourselves up with someone and watch movies, have that little cup of cider or hot chocolate or mulled wine. We want to have the donuts in the morning after they spend the night.
Yes.
No, we just want all of the goodness. Cuffing season is about being cozy with somebody that you love and that you care about deeply, and just enjoying all of the goodness that the season has for you and them.
Yes. If you're in a part of the world where there's starting to be that chill in the air, maybe the leaves are already turning, the cardigan, the jacket has made its way out of the closet, and you want to, have a quiet night in, perhaps. Movie watching. Have someone to cozy up with. Or if it's getting warm where you are in the world, someone to hit the beach with, hit a hike with.
Yeah.
Do something with somebody.
Get yourself that partner that is going to just be with you and take you where you want to be, and have all the fun that you can, because in cuffing season, wherever in the world that you are, you want to have someone by your side. And just like we saw with the sun, you want to find your moon and you want to walk along with them. Yeah.
Cuffing season, so interesting. It's a play on the word handcuff. The idea being that, like, how I've often thought about it is like back when I was in my 9 to 5, or even if you're not in sort of that traditional like type of work, it's you're nearing the holiday season in general, and there's going to be work parties, there's going to be socials, there's going to be things you may be getting some invitations to that are sometimes a +1, or you don't want to go to these things by yourself. And so you couple up for the time being, for the season, have someone to go with, and then the new year rolls around, just a nice whirlwind romance.
And I think that is just like what it is that you want. You want to have someone that is going to be there, and that you can show off, and then you can go home with and cuddle up with. Like, what's wrong with that?
Sometimes we truly do need a whirlwind romance. And
I 100% agree. And hopefully the whirlwind settles and you end up in Oz, and you don't have to take your ruby slippers to go home, because you are home.
We talk about wants, needs, expectations, standards, boundaries, of course, dating strategy in many, many episodes of Flirtations. We'll get into a little bit of that today, I think. But also, we're going to play in this space of whimsy, of fantasy, of fun, of joy, of pleasure. Something I really got from you from the last time we talked. And so I want to ask this question here now, because one thing you've really helped me with is just bringing more pleasure into the dating process. So I'd like for you, to share with the Flirties a little bit here about how they can bring some of that pleasure and whimsy into their cuffing season.
Yeah, I think, well, as Jessie Ware famously said, pleasure is a right, right? Like, pleasure is a right. And when I think about, like, when I'm working with my clients through Golden Mirror Fortunes, and I'm thinking about like the magic that I can bring, it often is about like finding pleasure. It is about like finding the ways that you can make your life more indulgent or pleasurable, or just enjoying things a little bit more. And when I'm thinking about like cuffing season and the way in which pleasure can play a role here, I think it's really about like giving up expectations, because as you know, like you're saying, when we are entering cuffing season, we're looking for that partner to take to parties. We're looking for that partner to be able to cuddle up with. We're looking for that partner that is going to be quote unquote handcuffed to us. And I think pleasure here is about giving up the expectation that you need that, right? Giving up the expectation that that is going to make the party better, or your fall better, or your time better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And looking at the stars, looking at like your horoscope, looking at tarot cards, and just realizing that like all of the magic is within you, and
Mm,
that the pleasure is really about like finding someone that's going to honor you, I
mm,
think is the most important part.
mm.
I'm reflecting on the card that we pulled at the beginning of today. Like the sun
Yeah.
does not care about like what it is that we're doing here. The sun doesn't care like what's going on around it. The sun is shining because it is the sun.
Yeah.
And I think like that's exactly what we should all be doing too. We should shine because we are the sun. And when
Yeah.
we're thinking about pleasure, we should like enjoy pleasure. We should be pleasured. We should have pleasure.
Yeah.
Not because like there's somebody by our side or not because like anybody is like telling us or not telling us to be like happy. It's because we
Mhm.
are pleased with ourselves. We are
Yes.
indulging in all of the things that are going to make us happy.
Yes.
And while I certainly hope that all of you will find through all of the flirtations that you are going to be pursuing this month,
Hmm.
you will have that person by your side. I also want for you to experience pleasure just for pleasure's sake. And I
Yes.
want for you to find that within yourself. And
Yes.
I think like that also just plays into this idea of whimsy, right?
Yes.
Like, how can you inject into a season that can sometimes be a little darker? Because, you know, like with the equinox, the nights are starting
Yeah.
to get longer. We're
Yeah.
starting to see everything just be a little bit colder. How can you inject that like little bit of like quirky charm into your day? Like maybe it's like you wake up in the morning and like you start pulling your own little tarot cards and you're like, you know what? I'm going to make this into an adventure.
Hmm.
Maybe you start your day thinking about like some side quests that you want to like pursue. You're like, you know what? Today I'm going to see how many times I can pull glitter out of my hair. You're doing
Hmm.
something that is going to make sure that you are feeling ultimately just so excited about your own life. Because
Yes.
again, pleasure is a right. And
Pleasure.
you deserve to make everything pleasurable and filled with that whimsical little nature that is only yours.
I was hanging on every word there, Fernie. Pleasure is a right. Really
Is.
relaxing into, releasing into this season,
Mhm.
being your own sun, your own light, and
Yes.
seeking that just fun, however you may describe pleasure as yeah, fun, whimsy, fantasy, connection, trying new things, saying yes. I know I'm really looking forward to just the haunted houses, like the scary, the
Yeah.
spooky stuff as we're getting in to that season. I can't wait to do a good haunted trail in the woods, trying some warm apple cider, right? Just like saying yes to those things and just having fun with it.
And I mean, as a Libra yourself, like this is
Uh-huh.
definitely like your season, right? Like this
Mhm.
is when you experience the most pleasure and joy.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
And I just think that like we should all just be really leaning into thinking that this could be our season, whether you are a Libra
Yes.
yourself or not.
Yes.
Like, how can you make this season yours? What things have you learned in the last 9 months that you can now transfer into joy as we're
Uh-huh.
entering into the sunset of the year?
Mhm.
And what things are you willing to try in order to make even more pleasure come into your life?
Yes. As we're entering officially flirt season, which is
Yes.
for everybody. You don't have to be a designated Libra to be a flirty. You are one. You're listening to Flirtations. So
Hello.
my question here is what's happening with the stars, the planets here on the equinox as we're entering Libra season, making that transition? Yeah, what can we glean from the universe?
Well, let me tell you, these couple of days leaning into Libra season are kind of super exciting.
Hmm.
So, the night before Libra season begins, on Libra Eve, if you will,
Yes. Uh-huh.
we have Mercury squaring Jupiter. And
Okay.
so Mercury is the announcer, and Jupiter is like philosophy and expansion. And when there's a square, it's like some friction. So on this day, the night before we begin our connections, don't get into any fights. Don't start like telling people what you really think. Don't start like thinking that it is time for you to open up the vault and let everyone like know what it is that you thought 8 years ago
Okay.
about like the way that the world works. Like, no,
Uh-huh.
like, you know, like think about these things maybe there is a little sprinkle of truth that you need to like let out, but don't get into these little fights. And the reason I say that even more so is because the sun then trines Pluto. And again, I'm using a lot of little astrological terms here,
Hmm.
but a trine is like a positive thing. And so when
Okay.
the light that shines is now doing something positive with Pluto, which is like a power dynamic,
Okay.
we're going to be experiencing like a power surge. We're going to be like, oh my
Mm.
goodness, like who can I dominate? Who can I be like a dom daddy for, a dom mommy for? Who can I like just allow myself to, find the pleasure in power
Uh-huh.
dynamics, and where can I shine
Yeah.
myself a little bit brightly? And so with like Mercury and Jupiter kind of fighting, and then the sun and Pluto kind of like having a little bit of fun, we really want to make sure that our words are being as kind as they can be. And
Okay.
we're not trying to like make anybody feel bad about what we actually think about them.
Okay.
And then on the actual equinox, we have one of my favorite astrological things that happens
Yes.
of Venus moving into Scorpio. And as all of you flirties know, I am flirty McFlirty son. Mae West is my spirit animal. Blanche
Yes.
Devereaux is like who I am. And so when you have the planet of love and beauty moving into the sign that is like all about sex, you
Hmm.
have the perfect little elements, you have the perfect little environment
Yeah.
for sex to bloom. And so when I'm
Oh,
thinking of pleasure being a right, like this is the time of year in which
okay.
pleasure is your right. So maybe you're not super into sex. Maybe sex isn't your thing, but where can you invite yourself to be more sensual? Where can
Mm,
you invite yourself to lean into the idea that you are a being worthy
yeah.
of treated with pleasure?
Mm,
Where can you lean into these indulgences that like run
mm,
within you that you sometimes hide from the world?
mm,
Allow yourself to really feel deeply and feel things with your whole heart, your whole self, and know that you deserve to be indulged. You deserve to be pleased. You
yeah.
deserve to feel all of the goodness. And I
Mm,
really love this. And of course, this happens when Venus is also like playing a little rough with Pluto. So,
yeah.
like don't fight when you are thinking that you need to be pleased more. Tell people what it is that you want. Let them know that this is the connection that you're seeking.
Uh-huh.
And I promise you that I think it's going to turn out really well for you. This
Mm-hmm.
is giving me, and I want to like name that this is going to be sound a little scary. This is giving me very the devil tarot card vibes. The
Okay.
devil gets like a bad rap, like we think that he's like evil and like he's doing all these horrible things. But actually, the devil in tarot is about the way that we can indulge, the way that we can lean into desire.
Okay.
And so I want for y'all to think like, where in your life have you been a little too, I don't know, disciplined? Where in your life have you been a little bit too aesthetic? Where have you not
Mm,
given into the
mm,
desire to just have and want and be pleased?
yeah.
And now's the time to do it. This is what
Yeah.
I think the stars are going to be doing on the equinox. And I want for all of you to really lean into whatever it is that you want.
Fantastic. Okay, so flirties, we have our game plan moving in to cupping season now, where I'm like
Yes.
picking up on it's like these themes of connection, but then also communication, of really being assertive, maybe
Mhm.
playing in to a little bit of a Dom role play here.
Yeah.
Right? Really naming and claiming what it is you want. I think the tarot card pull of the sun here at the start makes even more sense. How
Mhm.
serendipitous was that?
It was perfect. It's like,
Honestly.
I'm magical.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a perfect pull. Okay. I want to, yeah, this next question here is honestly, we may have we talked about it a lot just then, but how the stars and planets as we're shifting seasons now influence our desire for connection, because sometimes we can feel, if you're in parts of the world that are are chilling off a little bit weather wise, you may start to hibernate a little bit. Like sometimes I have a tendency to do that. So curious from your perspective, yeah, how this time in the astrological world impacts our desire to connect.
Yeah, Libra is all about connections. And so when
Yes,
we
it
ever,
is.
and
Yes, it
yes,
is.
it is. This is why you are the flirt coach, Mr.
Yes.
Libra.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Libra is all about connections. Libra wants for things to connect. Libra wants for there to be harmony, for there to be beauty, for things to be going in the way that they should.
Mm.
Libra loves beauty. Libra
Hmm.
loves for things to be not perfect in the way that like a Virgo really wants for them to, but
Right.
perfect in the way that like they just are. Like you look at a flower and you're like, oh my goodness, this is the most beautiful thing in the world. And
Yeah.
even if like it's missing a petal on one side, like you still think it's the most prettiest thing, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
what Libra really wants. And so this corner of the year, this little section of the year is really about like how do you build connections? And I think like
Okay.
there's two big things that are happening that I think are really going to help us build those connections. I think one, we have this idea of the past coming back to life.
Okay.
We are officially moving out of anything having to do with Mercury retrograde on the 26th when Mercury moves into Libra.
Whew, thank goodness.
Out of Virgo, I know, right? Well, Mercury retrograde is going to end a long time in the past, but
Yeah.
on that day we are completely out of its effects 100%.
Okay.
And so, like, all of the things that you learned, all of the lessons that you've been like going through, all of like the little gauntlet that you ran,
Mm.
it's now done. And so you're now able to integrate all of the gorgeousness that like you felt and
Mm.
say, you know what? Like, I really liked this. I don't really like this. This is what I need, and this is what I don't need. Let me tell
Okay.
y'all, I had to fight tooth and nail not to text an old F buddy and be like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, where are you? What are you doing? Can you come
Yeah.
over? Because I was like, no, this is a lesson that I've already learned. Like, he's not good for me. This is not pleasure. This is just like not even indulgence. This is stupidity. And
Uh,
so, like, I
mhm.
imagine that, like, learning this lesson, it took a long time. But I want for you to think about, like, what lessons did you learn in the last, like, couple of months since, like, the middle of July that
Okay.
you can now integrate? Like, what can you actually think about how you build connections and the kind of connections that you want, and
Mm.
how those can be integrated into the life that you're seeking to build?
Mm.
And then I think the other thing that's going to be really important is at the end of September, before we even launch into spooky season of October,
Hmm.
we have the ghosts of the past coming to life. We
Okay.
have the sun coming together with the south node, as well as Mercury coming together with the south node. And the
Ah.
south node is where the past lives. The south node is where the past exists.
Uh-huh.
And so if we have the thing that shines a light and we have the thing that announces things coming together with the past, we
Huh.
have this idea that the past wants to tell us a message. The
Uh-huh.
past wants to give us information that we need to integrate. The past wants to shine a light into what it is that we need to do in order to
Mm.
really capture the lessons of what it is that we've been through. And so I encourage you, as you're starting out cuffing season, mis amores, mis
Hmm.
flirty, to really think about what lessons from the past have you learned?
Yeah.
Where have you done things amazingly right that felt
Yeah.
fated, that felt like they were the absolute best thing? And where did Wheel of Fortune's little turn maybe crush you a little bit? And you
Mm.
need to also think about like how those lessons need to be released. Maybe
Yeah.
you have already learned it and you don't need it anymore. And so really looking about our past and the fated things that happened in our past and the
Huh.
fortune that took us into where we are today,
Yeah.
how can you like really think about those things in a way that is going to allow you to build connections with those around you?
Wow.
Where did connections become difficult? Where did connections seem tough?
Mm.
And where were connections easy?
Mm.
And I think there's a treasure trove there. There are tiaras and diamonds and necklaces and
Yes.
things.
Yes.
And there's also coal, right? And so
Right.
what can you use to warm up the house and what can you use to make yourself glitter more brightly? And think about
Mm.
those faded lessons from the past in that way.
Mm. This is so cool. Do other change do other seasons, maybe some of the other solstices have these moments of reflection built into them, or is this something unique to this season?
The sun in the south node and Mercury in the south node is unique to like this day. It happens
Yeah.
like throughout like the year,
Yeah.
but like with it happening in Libra at this exact time is a
Hmm.
pretty unique thing. But I think every solstice and equinox is really a perfect time to reflect.
Okay.
Um, a solstice really marks the beginning of a turn, right? It's
Yeah.
when either like we have reached the darkest or the brightest times of the year, and it's
Mm.
time for us to reflect on what it is that we want to grow or release.
Yeah.
And then an equinox, I think, is really special in terms of like what we're talking about with connections, right?
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
when the days are balanced.
Mm.
And whenever we think of balance, we do think of connection. We think of
Yeah.
harmony. We think of things being in their most perfect and united self.
Yeah.
And so I think with like this fall equinox, or if you're in the southern hemisphere, this spring equinox,
Uh-huh.
it's really about like how do you balance what it is that you've been through
Yeah.
with what it is that you want to get to, and how you can find that integration in between those two things.
Mm. This is so cool. And like something I realize now I've experienced specifically with the equinoxes,
Mhm.
are like those are the points of the year where you just experience the most change with the
Mhm.
seasons. And I often have these moments of reflection with the seasons changing, and specifically with the fall one here in the part of the world where we live, where it starts to get cooler, the leaves are falling, right? The days are starting to get a little bit shorter, but that especially with daylight savings time we have, then we're getting those brighter mornings, and then the
Yeah.
darkness comes a little bit earlier. So it's, yeah, I find myself in this season particularly starting to slow down a little bit and reflect and just
Mhm.
really assess and integrate a lot of what has happened up to this point. And now I see that it really makes sense with what's happening with the universe as well. It's not just this, this is happening coincidence. It's a part of a much bigger process. It's just a part of life in many ways.
It is. And I think like one of the most
Yeah.
beautiful things about being a witch is that you really start to like notice these things, right? Like you do, I'm like, I'll give you this example. So I have disco balls all over my house, right?
Same.
And right, I
Oh my
see one
God.
right behind you. I
Yes,
love it.
literally.
I
It's in
am
all my
myself.
videos.
Exactly. But I remember like one week this year, I woke up and every morning for about like 3 weeks, the light just hit the disco balls in the most
Mm,
gorgeous way. But it was only for those few days, right?
yeah.
And it's because of the way that the seasons change, the way that the sun moves, the way that the world moves, that it is for those brief periods of time that I had those disco balls and I really shining like that. And I really thought to myself, I should move them so that way they can always be shining. But I was like,
Yep.
no, that's just not the way that the world works, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
can't just make things shine whenever we want to. Everything
Mhm.
has its season. Everything is going to glitter at its own time, except for me, I glitter all the time. But
Yes.
but you know, like everything is going to have its own time and place. And I think when you start to like realize that as the universe moves, as we move, as
Hmm.
seasons, things make sense and things like have their own place, you can
Hmm.
realize, okay, like this is why cuffing season typically happens in Libra season, which is also typically when like the nights are getting longer, which is also when like the days are, being a little bit shorter, because all of these things just add up to something
Yeah.
really magical.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous the way that I don't think that these are coincidences, but the way that these things coincide
Yes.
allows us to live our life in the most beautiful way.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. That's the word I was just thinking of too. And I keep seeing this has got to be some kind of synchronous sort of thing where I keep seeing across different forms of social media when I'm, scrolling, doing research or, just watching videos for me, whatever, this Japanese proverb. And I hope I get it right, but it's talking about like a tree or a flower or something like that, about how, of course, like, the tree loses its leaves for half the year and then blooms, but it's not, it didn't, it's still very much alive. It's just going through its season so that it can change and grow and come back even stronger for the spring and summer. Same with a flower that blooms once a year, still very much alive. And so the idea behind that proverb being, it's, sometimes we have our seasons um, of hurt and sadness and
Mhm.
anger and grief and guilt and shame and loss, but we come back. We come back.
We do. The sun
Mhm.
rises every morning and it sets every night, right?
Yes.
And we do too.
Yeah.
And I think like you and I have, I think, very similar experiences with the way that our lives have taken a circuitous path to place us in these places where we can help people and
Hmm.
heal people, right?
Yeah.
And I think I want for all of you flirties to know that wherever it is that you are, like that's where you are. And it might not
Yeah.
feel like the right place and it might not feel good and it might be tough, but just like the tree, it's not complaining that it doesn't have leaves right now. It's just waiting for
Right.
the leaves to bloom. I want for you all to know that your leaves will bloom, that your leaves will grow, that your flowers will bloom. And I
Oh,
think
they
that's
sure will.
right. And I think that's a really important lesson that Libra can show us because Libra looks for beauty, right? And
Yes.
Libra wants for things to be, you know this, Libra wants for things to be harmonious. And the surest and quickest route to harmony for yourselves, flirties, is to really think about where in your life are things going well
Hmm.
and what can you do to be grateful for them.
Yeah.
And allowing that to permeate all of cuffing season is going to just give you such a boost of energy, especially as you're integrating all of the things that we talked about in September with all of these ghosts of the past. And it's not even spooky season yet. You're not even having to say boo yet. And you just have to remember that wherever you are is exactly where you are. And that's it. Whether it's
Exactly.
good or bad, it is. And the wheel is going to weave the way the wheel weaves. And that's all you can do.
Yeah. And to feel here, even if it is really intense or overwhelming, it signals that you're not indifferent. You're not apathetic. You're very much connected. And that's a good thing.
It is. And
Mm.
that's a lesson Libra teaches us, right? How to be connected. How to
That's my
connect
whole
yourself.
mission. That's why I exist.
I love
Ah,
it. Look
oh
at
my
you
gosh.
fulfilling the
Pretty.
Libra mission.
Yes. Very, I mean, gosh, sometimes I think about like how this is just so wild. And I talked about this in the flirting episode I did a little while ago, and I opened up that show talking a little bit more about myself and my journey here. And I can see upon reflection now, sometimes during these seasons, how this theme of connection has been a part of my life, my entire life, even when
Mhm.
I was a city planner for over 10 years, right? Sitting at a desk, just feeling generally unfulfilled. Just, I had gotten off my path. I'm just like, oh, like this isn't it. This isn't it. I don't know what it is though that I should be doing. But I can see even in those moments, connection was always a part of it for me as I worked in transportation and transit planning, connecting homes and where you live to where you work. And so you can go shopping and run errands and take your kids to daycare. And what if you don't have a car? And do you have sidewalks and are they safe? It was always about connection and connectivity. I just, in a different way, a little bit of a different way.
I'm not even sure that it is in a different way. Like
Oh,
thinking about like the way that you get home, right? Like, isn't
yeah.
that what you're doing now? Like where you're finding your home, where you're finding the people
Oh
that
my
make you feel
gosh.
like your home,
Yeah.
like how you can find the path to the best version of you.
Yeah.
And I think that just makes my heart so happy, Ben. Like that
Oh,
you
good.
have always been able to build these connections between people and who they are and where they should be. I love
Yeah.
that. Yay.
I
Look
see
at
it
you,
now.
Libra.
It's been a consistent theme as some of the flirties may be on their actual way home right now.
Hello, flirties. I hope that your way home is gorgeous.
We hope you get there safely. And I want to talk about now. I'm gonna mention here the previous episode we did. I'd love for the flirty to check that out if they haven't already, as we really get into some of the specifics about how to know your big three, your sun, your
Yeah.
rising, your moon. Did I get those right? Yes, sun,
Yeah,
rising,
that's
moon.
exactly
Yeah.
it. Those are the big three.
How to find them, right? You've got free resources in there. You give a lot of great information. And so what you can actually do with that information. So if you've got some of those big three, you want to keep listening here and then come back to this episode too. Cause I know some of the flirties now, they're like, girl, Big three. I read my horoscope every day. So
I read the
what?
horoscope for all three every single day. I know what's going on in each of them.
Yeah.
By the way, I would never say big three because a three is not big. But
Gagged me. Gagged me. You're so right. Okay. We'll say you're
no,
you're
I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
you're
They are your big
three.
three. That is literally what they are. Mae West had to come out a little bit.
Oh my God, we love her. I always think about, I mean, icon. And did you see that one RuPaul's episode, of course, where Alaska did?
I died. I literally died. I was like, come up and whatever was like the only thing that I could say.
Amazing.
Like the next month.
Yes, amazing. Good. So I don't have to rate this one explicit. Thank you for thank you for catching yourself.
I am keeping this clean today a little bit, kind of, maybe.
We're talking about pleasure, of course, glitter, whimsy, and fun, but that is
All
for
of it.
everybody.
Yes.
And so knowing your three, how may a flirty start to interpret their own astrological chart for this season? Yeah. Maybe a few things they could look at.
So I think like the thing that your big three is going to really help you out with, right, is figuring out like how you're navigating different aspects of cuffing season. And so your sun is really about like your general approach. Like what is the way that you are going to just be seeing the way that the world is and like what it is that you can do with that, right? So like your sun is in Libra, and so this is Libra season, and so you're shining brightly. This is the time of year when you can feel your Libra powers at their strongest, when you're making these connections and you're able to really like help people connect, right? So that's like one part of the big three. With your rising, that's really like what motivates you, and that's what allows you to really be moving yourself in a way that is going to get you to where you want to be. That is a very Capricorn way of saying your rising sign, and that's because I'm a Capricorn rising. And so I know that like when the sun is in Libra and I am a Capricorn rising, I'm generally thinking about, okay, so I want to make sure that I am able to aggressively move towards connections. I am able to be like ambitious about the way that the connections can happen. And I am thinking very deeply about the way that I'm going to be able to connect with others in a way that is going to benefit me and them. And then we have your moon. And the moon changes literally like every 1 to 3 days. And so our moon moves through all of the zodiac really quickly. And so it's really the way that we are just experiencing our body and our emotions daily. And so, for example, we have a new moon solar eclipse on October 2nd. So this is going to be happening in Libra. And so we can think about like, where is our moon in relationship to Libra? Where is all of our things in relationship to Libra? But when we have a moon in Libra and my moon is in Pisces, I'm really thinking, okay, so like, what is my dreaminess having to do with connection, right? Like, am I dreaming about new connections? Am I trying to connect on a mystical, like spiritual level as well as on a physical level? And how is this like going to be interpreting it, right? So with your sun, it's kind of like your general approach. With your rising, it's like the motivation that you have. With your moon, it's about like your physical and emotional responses to what's going on around you.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I'll share my three in case some of the flirties may be curious. Then I want you to share yours. So my sun, of course, is Libra. My rising is Taurus, and my moon is Scorpio.
Okay, so flirties, this is not going to be explicit, but I wanted you to know that he has a very Mae West little big three.
Hey, I resemble that statement.
Well, I think it's accurate.
But I'm very, very demure, very mindful.
You are, you know what? Okay, little story about this. I tried to say that I was demure. Mind you all, follow me on Instagram, Golden Mirror Fortunes, and see that I am never demure. I am literally like wearing like a see-through caftan and like 80% of
but never more than one shoulder at a time. Or like today it's chest, but both shoulders are covered.
You can't see beneath.
Oh, no, I can only see from the neck up, about chest up.
And you see it is all the chest, but you're right. You're right. This is probably one of my most demure outfits,
Okay.
and it is still lots of cleavage. So y'all know that Fernie is not demure. But yes, your big three are also not demure. Maybe you are demure, but your big three are not demure. They are mindful.
Oops.
And let me tell you actually why I think that they're very mindful and why they're very appropriate for you and what you do.
Okay.
And so with Libra Sun, which we've talked a lot, right? You are definitely someone who loves to connect. You love to flirt. You love to find the beauty and the harmony in everything.
Yes.
You are somebody who is drawn to that, and you also exude that. And that's something that I think really finds you in a position where you're really just happy, making people happy, and you're making sure that the world feels really happy. I think that this can sometimes lead you to sublimating the things that make you happiest in order to find what is going to bring harmony to everyone, which can sometimes cause a little bit of decision paralysis, which then leads me to your rising, which is Taurus. You dig your heels in, though. So once you've made a decision, you're going to try and find harmony, but you're going to try and get everybody to be harmonious with what it is that you've thought. And this is the part that isn't demure, right? And so you can very physically feel what is the right thing to do. And so your Libra Sun, knowing what justice is, knowing what fair is, then plays with your Taurus rising in a way that allows for you to be like, well, this is the right thing. This is why you're such a good coach, Ben, because you know that how you're going to get people to do what is the thing that is going to be best for them and also going to be bringing like the brightest light to them. Then we have your Scorpio moon. You just feel things so deeply.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
you're able, right?
Ugh, yes.
You swim deep in the waters of emotion.
Yes.
You want to plunge into everything with both feet, but you never want anybody to know. And so your Libra helps you to find that mask. Your Taurus is going to then be able to like tell people that what it is that they're experiencing is untrue because you're going to dig your heels in. And then your Scorpio is feeling these things. This is also, and again, we're keeping this PG. This is also just a very sexy chart. Like this is just a sexy thing. We have Libra who loves to flirt. We have Taurus who loves sensual pleasure. And then we have Scorpio that loves sexual pleasure. And so you just love to be like involving your entire body or your entire passion, your entire like heart in what it is that you're doing with those that you are finding yourself in relation with, which I think is just really hot. So anybody that's looking for somebody to cuff, we got
I'm
Ben
single.
right here.
I'm single. Yeah, don't let the mustache fool you. I really have the emotional depths of like an abyss sometimes. My gosh, feeling very, very deeply. Thank you for that.
Of course.
That reading, to be quite honest. What are your three, Fernie?
So my big three, I've actually been told that I have a really difficult big three, and I would agree with this. So I have the sun in Gemini, I have my rising in Capricorn, and then I have my moon in Pisces.
Okay.
So I'll start with like the positive, and then I'll delve into why this is tough. Yours is really just like all good with a little bit of like stubbornness thrown in there because like you just want to fight sometimes.
Very stubborn.
Yes. But it's fun.
My mom would agree wholeheartedly with that.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Hi.
So Gemini Sun is intellectual, intellectualizes everything, is really research oriented, is really like thoughtful about like the things that they're looking into. I can be a jack of all trades and I can research everything. I know a little bit about most things just because I'm curious about like a lot of things. That's actually how I got into astrology, y'all. I was like, I feel like astrology would really help my tarot. So let me start like researching. And 5 years later, here we are talking about your big three. And so Gemini doesn't necessarily have a lot of room for emotions, mostly because they just intellectualize everything.
Okay.
And that plays really prettily with Capricorn, which is like everything is ambition, everything is growth, everything is movement, everything is like getting to the next stage and getting to the next level. And then also just like knowing that you have to start somewhere in order to get there. Capricorn's also a little weird. It's the sea goat. So it wants to be able to like both swim in the deep seas but climb the high mountains. It wants to do everything as number one. It is the perennial champion. And then we have Pisces. So I have competition and
Mhm.
like intellectualism.
Mhm.
And then you have your moon, which is like this dreamy, mystical, like feeling very deeply, like seeing things through the stars
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so it just makes it really tough sometimes to be able to connect in a way that is not like just intellectual, right? Because I'm like,
Okay.
I want to connect with you,
Yeah.
but let me think about all of the ways that I can. And, or like, this is the dream that I had. Let me write down all of the symbols that are in here and cross-reference it with the Jungian philosophy on why like dreams are important. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so,
I see where you're going. Yeah.
and so it can just make things a little tough to enjoy for what it is, which
Okay.
is why I think when I really heard that phrase, pleasure is a right, on Jessie Ware's album, that feels good. Like it resonated so deeply with me. And I want it to resonate with all of you flirties again. Like, I just want to bring that up again. Pleasure is a right. And sometimes pleasure isn't easy. Sometimes rights aren't easy. Sometimes like you want to feel things pleasurably and it's just not easy. So, like, regardless of what your big three are, and if you need help in determining and getting a reading, reach out to me on Instagram,
Yes.
Golden Mirror Fortunes. Regardless of what your big three are, you should still be feeling pleasure.
Yeah.
You should still be experiencing indulgence and pleasure and desire and being desired. And I think like the big message of cuffing season, of like the 6 weeks that we're really talking about, from the fall equinox to Halloween, you should allow yourself to feel really deeply that you deserve to be pleased and you deserve pleasure, regardless of whatever the stars are saying to you, you know? And I want you to know that astrology is a mirror. It's going to reflect things back at you. And it's up to you to still continue to fight for the things that you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big message that's going to be happening, especially as we're seeing all of the little aspects that are happening with Pluto in these 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Pluto wants for us to fight for what we believe in. Pluto wants for us to understand power dynamics. Pluto wants for us to go into things that matter to us and the things that are important to us. And so when we have Venus and the Sun and Mercury all playing with Pluto, it's really about like, how do you talk about what's important to you? How do you relate to what's important to you? How do you shine brightly with what's important to you? And I want for all of you flirties to really reflect deeply in these 6 weeks about what is the most important thing to you. And how do you weave pleasure into all of that so you can feel that you are getting what it is that you really want.
Yeah. Yeah. So good. And just allowing yourself to feel it, know that you deserve it. That desire can be for yourself too, right? I often like to flip the Delulu all like on its head. If you could be Delulu for a dude, for he, she, they, you could be Delulu for you. And this was such, oh my gosh, it's been a challenge for many, many years, a big part of my life, and something that I still am working through is allowing myself to feel that pleasure, to experience it, knowing I don't have to do something for it necessarily. I don't have to work for it. I don't have to earn it. Like you said, it's a right. Yeah.
And I think that is, I think as people living in a capitalistic society, and I won't get on my soapbox, I promise.
Yeah.
But just like thinking about like how we don't necessarily need to deserve things, right? We can just have them. And I think one of the things that I just want you to have is pleasure. And one of the things that I want for you to understand, especially in Libra season, is that harmony is pleasurable, beauty is pleasurable, balance is pleasurable. And so find that in your life. Where in your life can you find that beauty, that harmony, that pleasure, so you can be as happy as you should be?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Do you have a couple extra minutes?
Of course I do.
Okay.
For you, all the time in the world.
You hear that? Thank you. Thank you to the yes, the flirties are going to appreciate the what's coming next. I got just a couple more questions. Of course, one is about flirting. So
Yeah.
as we're entering here officially, I mean, all year round is flirt season, but Libra, the season of the flirt.
Mm.
So sharing some BFE, big flirt energy with the flirties, just giving them, yeah, some flirting wisdom, inspiration here. What did the planets have to say about the flirt here?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, this is strike two for Fernie because we had big three and now we have BFE, and my brain is just all, all sorts of
I
dirty,
mean,
y'all.
I intentionally, have some innuendos in some of my frameworks and acronyms.
What? You innuendos? No.
Yeah, I'm
You
telling you know the five Ds of the
You
flirt, right?
Scorpio moon? What?
Yes,
You
five
Taurus
D.
rising thinking about sex? No.
Never.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Let me tell you all like what I think is going to be the best day for flirting energy for BFE, for
Mm-hmm.
big flirting
Yes.
energy.
Mm-hmm. The F is for flirting.
It's flirting
Yeah.
energy. We have October 8th, and
Okay.
this is when Venus trines Mars. So all of y'all flirties, put it into your calendars right now. October 8th. This is when
Right.
Venus trines Mars. I obviously, as a queer non-binary person, I don't necessarily fall into like Venus is feminine, Mars is masculine. But what I do fall into is that these two planets love to love each other. And so we have Venus who relates, we have Mars, which is sex and like passion and aggression. And so when they're trining, which means that they're like looking at each other and like giving each other eyes, we know that the energy is going to be so good for flirting. It does fall on a Tuesday, so I don't know if this is going to be your Taco Tuesday. You're going to go out and get some little teeny Tuesdays. Go out and get a martini with someone. But like, think about maybe like the weekend before how you're going to go out and like really just find someone to flirt with.
Okay.
But the stars definitely here are aligned with the flirting.
All right.
Also, just like all of Libra season is kind of like really powerful flirting energy. Like
Yeah.
Libra again loves to connect. We've said this a billion times today. Like it is just a connection. And we move into Scorpio season on the 22nd of October. And Scorpio, not to like diss your moon, Scorpio
Yeah.
doesn't love connection as much as Libra.
Okay.
Scorpio is really kind of like, this is my stinger, back the flirt off. Uh,
I
and
get ya.
like give me my own little space, right?
Yeah.
And like even though it has deep waters, it wants for you to stay on the surface. It doesn't want to show you anything.
Mhm.
But once you can get into a Scorpio's heart or pants or whatever it is that you're getting into, you open up like this really gorgeous world of possibilities. And so I want for you also to think about that flirties. So if we're starting this little like season really trying to connect,
Mhm.
how can you also open up? How can you also be vulnerable?
Okay.
Because on the 22nd, when we start with Scorpio season, I really want for you to think, I spent all this time flirting. Perhaps my BFE got me a BFF. And
Yes.
now and now I am ready to like maybe get a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Where can you be vulnerable? Where
Yeah.
can you allow your vulnerability to shine? And where can you allow people to get a little bit deep with you, even when it might be really uncomfortable?
Yeah. So cool. I love like these really four themes that have come up during this conversation of connection, of reflection, introspection, and then pleasure, and now vulnerability. I think like some real these are, yeah, this is a lot of what I'm going to take from this conversation and from this episode today as we move into cuffing season. And I only have just one more question, and that is maybe it's another tarot poll or a prediction of sorts.
Mhm.
Something that you see. Is there something happening that we need to be aware of? Yeah.
I'll do two things for you.
Okay.
Love you.
Okay.
I think the
Love
big
you
thing,
too.
and I hinted at this a little bit, but we have eclipse season and
Yeah.
cuffing season. And
Yes.
eclipses are They are also BFE, but the F is more May West than Ben.
Okay. I'm more like, "Bow." Yeah, like kind of like, hey.
That come up,
A
come up.
terrible Mae West impression, but y'all know what I mean.
I do. Um, and I think like with the eclipses, I really want for all of y'all to be practicing good astrological hygiene. Like make sure that you're not like setting yourself up for like disaster by getting into fights around the eclipses or like trying to reconnect with that old friend of yours that like that you just don't get along with.
Mhm.
Like give yourself some space. Don't overload your calendars. Don't be putting things that that are just going to overload your wires. We have the eclipses on the Libra Aries like axis, and Libra loves to connect, and Aries loves to not connect. Aries loves to charge ahead. And so you really want to think about like how you can channel your inner Zen master when maybe the world is going to get a little haywire.
Okay.
I think that's one thing. And then I think the other thing we'll end with a little tarot card pull
Okay.
about like how you all can find connection between the equinox and Halloween. This is a very powerful time of year, I find. It's when the harvest is ending, and it's right when we're about to enter like the dark part of the year. And so just really thinking about how we can find those connections to guard our hearts and protect us as we're moving forward. So let's see what I'm able to see for y'all. I'm doing 3 cards. We'll see what they're saying. We have the Knight of Wands. I have been talking about this all episode long. I have danced around this subject. This is a season for sex. I want to be really clear. Like the Knight of Wands is all about like charging ahead with like your passion, with your like ability to like look for what it is that you want, for your passion for desire and for intensity. Don't back away from what it is that's going to make you happy. And whether you are hypersexual like me or you are, on the opposite end of that spectrum, find what is going to make your heart burn. Find what is going to make your soul feel on fire and lean into it.
Okay.
We also have this idea of the 10 of Swords. And so like we've talked about this a lot, which is like the past coming up again. Let it die. Let it end. Let it be done. Find what makes you happy. Find what is going to give you pleasure. And then whatever isn't, let it go. It's no longer yours. This can stay in the past. And this is unexpectedly gorgeous, which I love. We have the 10 of Cups. And the 10 of Cups is like harmony, union, family, extreme bliss and joy. And I think, Ben, this is what you bring to the world, right? Like as the flirt coach, you bring this bliss, this joy, this harmony. As a Libra, you look for this. Yeah. And I think like this is what you all should be doing during Libra season. Lean into your inner flirt, lean into what makes you happy. Find that bliss, find that happiness, find that thing that gives you joy, and look for it. And don't let it hide from you, because it has no reason to not be seen and enjoyed by all of you.
All right, flirties, there you have it. Your direction for cuffing season. Fernie, thank you so much for being a part of the show today and joining me on another episode of Flirtations. I'll definitely have everything linked in the show notes, but where you live on the internet, how the flirties can find you, work with you, one-on-one, get their own tarot cards pulled.
Yeah, I definitely would love to help all of y'all out. Come and spend some time with me. We can talk about your big 3. We can talk about tarot. We can talk about anything that you want. Find me on Instagram. It's Golden Mirror Fortunes. I would love to help all of y'all out, and I hope that you all have the most fabulous of cuffing seasons. Practice good astrological hygiene. Take care of yourselves, and know que los quiero mucho, mis amores.
Thank you so much, Fernie.
Yay, so fun. Always the best BFE time with you. That's best friend energy just for all of you. It is just the funnest time. Thank you so much for having me on. I love you and I love what you do. And I hope all of you flirties just know how awesome this person in front of me is.
Oh, Fernie, shining brightly like your captain right here.
Always.
Thank you, Fernie.
Thank you.
Flirties, that's a wrap on this episode of Flirtations. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to our guest, Fernie, for being on the show today and giving us our fall dating horoscope. And Lord knows, I love a dabble in astrology. So I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. To link up, connect with Fernie, all is linked in the show notes. Highly recommend you check those out. He is so much fun. And yeah, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share this episode or another favorite episode with a friend, someone you know, someone you want to share some flirt energy with. And yeah, that's going to do it for me here at Flirt Headquarters. My name is Benjamin. I'm the Flirt Coach, signing off and wishing you very happy flirting. Happy flirting.